When Dwayne Haskins came out in the NFL draft, we had him graded as an early third rounder. Yeah, an early third rounder. And he went in the middle of the first round, so this should be the time where I'm jumping up and down and celebrating and patting myself on the back, right? No. When Dwayne Haskins came out of the draft, we had a number of concerns. He was incredibly immobile. He threw inaccurately on platform. He was even worse when he moved off platform, which didn't happen very often because he was immobile. When you saw him against a zone defense, and with runway routes, he cut people apart. But if you watch the Purdue game, if you watch the Washington game, when the zone defenses got complex, when the drops became unusual, and when Washington switched from a zone in the first half to a man in the second half, Haskins absolutely faded into oblivion. We didn't like his mechanics. He had a long load to his throwing motion, which consistently made him high by a step and late by a step on the drag routes in front of him. He had a wompy ball inversion in the middle of that long load. For some reason, he'd bring it back with the ball up, turn the ball upside down, and then bring it back up when he had the long load. And you can see this very clearly on his Ohio State film because he wears the white sleeves on his elbows, and you can see the elbows pop out and then the load start from that point. This is delay, 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 delay. And when you have the slower reads, you need the runway routes. And what I mean by runway routes is a wide receiver breaks and then runs into space. A lot of times you would see the Chip Kelly mash crossers in front of his face. You would see routes that break and have a long straight line ahead of it, something that he could see and time up easier. What didn't happen when Haskins came out in the draft is that all of these quarterback gurus who for years had been labeling every air raid quarterback as a system quarterback missed the boat because they saw Mahomes come out and system went out of their vocabulary. They freaked out. They went, oh, we can't call somebody system because we made a fool of ourselves with Mahomes. Well, Haskins was a system quarterback. What Ohio State did with their screen passes, with their Chip Kelly mash crossers, with all the routes that they had, 66% of his routes were incredibly easy passes for him. And when he played against zone because people were afraid of how to cover those picks and those crossers, that put him right in the money for what he's good at. But it didn't end there. The ball didn't fly the way you'd expect it to fly. His wrist action was weak, and you saw that the ball wobbled nose to tip. Now, you'd see on the deep ball that it would go up to its peak, and when it caught its peak like a punt, it would turn into that tight spiral, and he could throw the ball down the field. He had a ton of weight on his throw, but the nose to tip wobble of the ball in the air really hurt his zip. This is going to slow or shrink the windows on the field when he's playing zone, which is what he wants to see. So all these things added up together that we said, this is a leap of faith selection. This is a guy you want to put in a cocoon and work on a number of different broken parts in his game and hope that he comes out the other side a butterfly. Well, he ain't no butterfly. Haskins and the Washington coaches have worked on a few things this offseason. Make no mistake. Haskins has worked into a short dart throw with his mechanics where he brings the ball almost straight up his side and throws it from there, taking away the long windup, taking away the inversion of the ball, speeding it up a little bit so that he can hit crossers easier, he can hit short routes easier. The long routes are still the long windup, but it wasn't as big of an issue on those throws. But Haskins is still putting the ball in harm's way because that takes away velocity. And the Washington coaching staff, to their credit, have built this system right back in for Haskins. If you watch the Washington offense right now, it looks very similar to what he was used at Ohio State. But yeah, Haskins is missing guys who are wide open. Not with the throw, he just plain doesn't see them. This happened at college. And that points right back at Snyder meddling, overstepping Gruden, taking a nepotism first-round pick of a quarterback who played in high school, at the same high school as his kid went to. Just horrible, horrible front office work from the owner himself. And yet, benching him is the wrong idea. And there's a very simple reason for that. You don't have a better option. You simply don't. He was taken with the 15th pick in the draft, and he is not a finished product yet. He is still adjusting to the speed of his game. He is still getting comfortable within this offense. And while he is missing people, and you see it on the Ravens tape, you saw a couple throws that he made that were just overly aggressive against the Cleveland tape, that's not going to be fixed if you don't have him on the field working through it. And what does Washington have to gain by putting in Kyle Allen? Kyle Allen is absolutely every bit as bad as Haskins is right now. So there's no upside of Kyle Allen being your franchise quarterback. If he is, enjoy the bottom of the least, Washington, because that's where you're staying for a good long time. It isn't going to make them worse. So they're not going to be able to tank their way even lower. It's not going to make them better, so they're not going to be able to win the division. So what is the point of this? And honestly, I can only come up with one possible issue as to why Rivera made this decision. Now, I have been a strong advocate for Rivera in a certain number of ways. I love his leadership. I love his character. I love the way that he gets his team to play. But I hate the fact that in the last couple years at Carolina, he looked like he had completely lost his way. His offense and his offensive staff continued to find new things and evolve. He looked like a dinosaur stuck in a tar pit who didn't know how to change with the times of the NFL. So when he was hired, I went, well, at least he'll bring some stability and some maturity and some character to this Washington franchise. And 4 weeks in, like a spoiled child, he benches his starting quarterback, the 15th overall pick from the year before, for a guy who is a good worker bee. That's what Kyle Allen is. This isn't as dumb as benching Tyrod Taylor for Nathan Peterman. This isn't as dumb as benching Andy Dalton for Ryan Finley. But understand this. This is an adopted son quarterback who Rivera wants to start. They just like him. He's not good. They just like him. And this is why coaches, aren't part of the front office. Even if you firmly come to the conclusion that Haskins isn't the future, and he's not. This kills your leverage. This kills your value. You could have possibly found a team that would give you a second round pick like the Dolphins did for Rosen at this point. But if you come out and publicly embarrass your quarterback by benching him, and I'm talking benching him because he's not even getting reps at practice right now as a third stringer, he's the fourth stringer. You've just cut off your escape path. The reason why I truly feel this is happening proves that Rivera is even a bigger dinosaur than I could have possibly imagined at this point. And that's tough love. Tough love. You're not doing the right things. Coach, he can't. You're not reading the field. Coach, he can't. So we're going to bench you, and we're going to say that you're not running through the offense and to the media, and we're going to embarrass you because that's going to make you try harder. Coach, he can't. You're embarrassing yourself, coach. That's what you're doing. You're not embarrassing your quarterback. You're not using a stick to push him closer to the finish line. You're embarrassing yourself. And I believe that that's the attempt that they're trying to make. Because there was talks in Haskins' first year that he didn't know the offense, and now he's not going through the offense properly. It's because he can't read a field. It's because he can't get ahead of his progressions. It's something he never was able to do. And with time, this would get slightly better. But it's not going to get fixed, and tough love isn't going to fix it. If Washington's trying to accomplish anything this year, the quarterback's name you want to play is Alex Smith. Now, I don't know if his leg can hold up to NFL contact, but he's the best quarterback in Washington, just like Keenum was the best quarterback in Washington last year. So if you're trying to win, and you're trying to inspire your troops and rally the troops, then, yeah, you play Alex Smith, not Kyle Allen. And if this is an opportunity for some tough love, coach, you're so dated. This is not the 1980s anymore, and that doesn't work in this current league. You see players' coaches becoming more and more popular. It's because of this. It's because when you start alienating players, players don't want to play for you. To a number of players in this league, they're looking at the way that Haskins' situations has been handled and putting this as one more check in the reason I won't play for Washington category. That doesn't help your franchise. So while I don't believe Haskins will ever be the answer in Washington, The notion that Kyle Allen could be better is nonsensical. Sorry, Washington fans. I'm really, truly sorry. We love you guys. We need you. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.